most of the information that leaders impart is done through observing, by people observing what they do rather than what they talk about it. In my book, I talk about something which is quite known in the trade as the difference between doing and saying. It's called do-say gaps. And, what employees, associates, middle managers look for is what our leaders do. And there's two examples kind of on this chart here of good and bad. The example on the left is the guy with the car. And this represents a story that I tell quite often at meetings and conferences, etc. I remember this is about an organization we worked with, say, 10 years ago, going through massive cost cutting, going actually quite well, as these things can. And what happened was the executive team decided to change the executive car policy and upgrade it. Suddenly, employees in the headquarters were seeing much nicer cars turn up. In fact, I think the email about the car policy was leaked. And probably within a month, you had an employee population somewhere around about the 40,000, of which I would say 60 or 70% of them knew about the fact that during this period of austerity, the board had voted everybody at a certain level a new car. It was a classic case of how not to role model change. And interestingly, the executive at the time, and those of you who are change agents will know this kind of feeling quite well, when I challenged him on it, told me that he wasn't in the business of symbols and theatre. That guy now is playing golf, if it's any consolation to you. He was thrown out about 4 months later. But, the symbols and the theatre were well spotted by the employees. On the right, I have loads of stories about positive one, but my favourite, which I think is apocryphal, because I've never seen it written down anywhere, but it's a good story. And it's about, in the UK, there's a huge supermarket that's owned by Walmart. It's called Asda. It was an independent supermarket chain for many years, very successful, but it went through a terrible time. And a management team came in to take it over, and by terrible, I mean it was not a shop that you'd want to go and shop in. And a particular guy called Alan Leighton, who's quite famous in the UK, was an enormous believer in customer service. And what he did was that he did all the things that you and I would probably think about. He got people new uniforms. He wore the uniform. He had his own sort of Alan polo shirt. He had the cap. There were no suits. He organised the training and went on it himself. All the things. But quite interesting, so I'm told by people in Asda, one of the most powerful things was that every one morning a week, he would turn up at a store unannounced, and he would work on checkout. And he would work on checkout for about 4 hours. And when asked by the people in the store why he did that, he would say, there's nowhere more important in the store than checkout. It's where we talk to customers, it's where we find out what they like and don't like, and it's the most important job in the store. So I think as a leader, I ought to do this once a week.